This
Press
conference will now be recorded.
not here. Wendy Cambridge is here, and Rudy Nino, the Historic Preservation Officer, is online. Right. Item number 3 is approving the agenda. Just to go through this real quick, I don't think that Linda Howard is going to be joining us, so we can cross that off.
If I may speak,
Go ahead.
that particular presentation will be just a very short explanation of what an undertold marker is, and I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, so do you want to keep it on the agenda then? Okay, never mind. All right. Is there anything else on here that was dependent on somebody who is not here?
I've got information on the rock wall.
Okay. And then streetscapes. Retta is signed up to speak, so we'll see if she's here by the time we hit those items. Okay, so would we like to go ahead and approve the agenda?
I'll move that we've approved the agenda. I second.
All right, all in favor? All right. All right, item number 4 is public comment. Only person signed up to speak is Retta Martin, and she's not here.
She's sick today.
Hmm?
She will not make it to the meeting. She's not feeling good.
Okay,
She's sick.
I don't know. Okay, so,
She's ill today. She didn't feel good. Neither does Linda.
okay,
And Pam is still trying to log on.
what?
Rudy, you're not very loud and not real clear.
Okay. How about now?
Better.
Go
Better.
ahead.
Retta was ill and Linda is also ill. And Pam is texting me. She's trying to log on.
Okay. So we can go ahead and move on to the untold marker application.
Quite simply, an untold marker, well, what I'm going to explain is there are not at least 4 different ways to have markers out there. The National Registry, the state of Texas, THC, and they have 4 different types of markers you can submit for. The Recorded Texas Historic Landmark marker, Subject marker, Historic Texas Cemetery marker, and the Undertold markers. The Undertold markers represent stories, events, people that are undertold. The stories are rarely told or minimally told. For instance, we all know about the marker at Peyton Colony. That is an undertold marker because there's very little said about that particular time in history and that group of people. So that is actually an undertold marker by the state. The undertold marker referred to in the agenda is an application that has been submitted by the gentleman that owns the property, by an individual who's out of state, but her job is to prepare applications for submittal for markers and historical research. And that person is Jacqueline Dreher. She is the founder and principal at the Mulberry History Advisors. She submitted an application for an undertold marker for the Girl Scout camp that, oh gosh, I don't have the year down here immediately, but it lasted a short time, and all nationalities or cultures were welcomed. I'll leave it that later on in that time. Anyway, the application has been collected and acknowledged by the state of Texas. It is under review for an undertold marker. And that has got nothing to do with us, but I just wanted you all to know that there are different types of markers, as well as the local marker, which the community themselves can put up on a building. The hat store has one of those types of markers. And I believe that's probably all that I wanted to say, so that you all were informed of the different types. There's not just one, there's many.
So what, is it just for information only, or does it, like, sometimes the historical markers, they carry limitations about what you can do with your property and things like that, you know? Like keeping it very historic, replace the windows with historic windows. So does this undertold marker carry any ramifications of any kind, good or bad?
This particular one now, it is subject matter, it's telling the story of what happened there at one time, so as not to be forgotten.
That's really nice.
Yes.
Thank you for researching that. So we can move, do we have any other questions or? Nope, okay. New business. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on the following. Item number 1, consideration of October 25th, 2021 BHPC regular and December 13th, 2021 BHPC special meeting minutes. We don't have the October 25th one. I do have the notes on it. But we do have the December 13th special meeting minutes that I wrote up, and you all have a copy. So if you'd like, and you've had time to review those, we can approve them or make edits.
Well, it looks good to me. There's just a typo in the very last line, instead of them.
Yep.
That's the only thing I saw.
I would agree with Gail. It's good to me.
All right. Does somebody want a motion to approve the December 13th meeting minutes with the correction on the last line, changing them to the?
I move we accept the minutes as is with minor correction.
All right.
I'll second it.
Motion is seconded. All in favor? Passes unanimously. And then, yeah, we can't do the October 25th ones right now, so get on those. Item number 2, February 28th, HPO 8. Oh, so the way this reads, February 28th, HPO, a UDC workshop and annual report of his findings in lieu of the regular BHPC meeting. Subjects TBA. Rudy has been working with people from the THC on the annual report for the BHPC and wants to go over it with everyone. But it is going to take a while, like over an hour. So his suggestion was that we either have a special meeting or workshop in addition to the February 28th meeting, or alternatively to change the February 28th meeting into a workshop. So Rudy, did you want to comment on that?
No, you covered it pretty good for me.
Okay. So assuming we don't have any COAs to approve at the end of February, what do you all think of that?
You feel this will take a couple hours to do,
He thought it might take an hour and a half.
hour and a half to 2? Would we have to meet earlier then if it's going to stay at the regular meeting date?
I'm fine with it either way.
We could try to start it at 5:30 if everybody could be here at 5:30. I don't think we could go much earlier.
And that, then we would just have the workshop, or we would have both the meeting and the workshop.
Probably just the workshop unless we had action items. And I think well, yeah, I don't know if we could change our minds if we get a COA application or not.
Could we start out with a regular meeting, just in case there is something that we need to have action on? And then close that meeting and then go into the workshop?
I assume, as long as we have it posted that way.
You can do that.
We can do that?
And just keep the regular meeting real short.
Just address anything that we need to address right away. All right. Does anybody have a motion that they would like to make
I think
regarding
it's,
this next meeting?
Your job to make the motion.
Is it my turn to make the motion?
And it's your
Well,
job.
Pam's up there, she can make the motion
No,
too.
she can't. You gotta be in person.
But you have to be here in person for that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I
they
didn't
changed
know
it.
that.
They changed
They
it.
changed it?
Mhm.
Okay. I make the motion that we do the meeting first and then go into the
Workshop.
workshop.
All right.
What? At 5:30.
I agree with that.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So we will have a short meeting on the 28th and then go into workshop, and we will start at 5:30. All right. Item number 3 under new business is goals for February through November of 2022. I believe that Rudy sent out his suggested goals. Did everybody get those?
I might have gotten them, but I didn't see them to print them out.
That's this one?
Yes.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes.
what I did was I copied the goals that we had agreed to last year
At the workshop?
at the workshop and then later in one of our meetings. So those are what we have been working towards. And they would be, there are some of those actually in his recommendations as well.
Okay.
So just for clarity, I'm asking Rudy or you, these are suggestions for goals for this next year, I heard you say. Will our goals be required for any kind of accreditation or understanding through the CL,
Certified local government,
government, CLG.
CLG.
Is this required for that, or is this just something we as the commission are pulling together?
Rudy, did you hear that question?
No, it's not very clear, but on the goal settings, prior to the meetings, would have been good to check them off, or you can still do it right now and say, well, we're working on this one already. This one looks new. This one looks like an addition. And then you can take it back home and possibly on the next agenda, we can visit that again, see what everybody feels, if we have too many goals, a lot of stuff doesn't get done. It's been like that for the last 10 years. So there's some good goals there that y'all are almost accomplishing. I would hit those real hard before the year runs out again in the budget.
Since this is pretty lengthy, do we want to take these home and study it more for possibly including it in the workshop at the end of February and compare that to what we're working on here?
I think that'd be a good idea. You did good to do this, Wendy, thank you.
Just a thought, when you put goals together, yes, you do have short-term, sometimes intermediate, and then long. But the expectation, at least in my experience, is that you expect to accomplish those goals within a reasonable amount of time. I do think that we should take this home and read it. I read it and made notes throughout. And when we do come back to discuss, recommend that we be realistic about what it is that we feel we can accomplish with the resources that we have. And I don't mean money resources, I mean human resources.
Right.
They're all great goals. There's no question about it. And yes, I think I counted 29 approximately long-term goals and possibly 20 short-term. And then in a few of those, they had many subgroups as well. So I would motion that we take these home, truly look them over, and then come back again at our next meeting in February to discuss.
I'll second that.
All in favor? So we are going to study this more and be realistic about what our goals are and keep that list limited to what we might actually be able to accomplish.
Thank you, Rudy. It's a great list.
So
You're
we
welcome.
can go ahead and move to old business. Item number 1, review and discuss historic markers previously discussed over the years. A is Pittsburgh Land Company historic subject marker. Location to be announced in the 120-acre tract of where Blanco was founded. These are both Wendy's items, and the other is the Henry Beckman historic subject marker. So do you want to talk about that, Wendy, or both of those?
I would if I knew more about them. And when I saw my name on these 2 items, I was a little surprised
Okay.
because I have not researched them. They were prior to my coming onto the commission. So I would need to research that more to find out more about them, actually. It seems like there's someone, and I don't have it available to me right now, that in our workshop said that he was researching
Pittsburgh.
And
Does anybody else remember?
I remember him, but I've not seen him since.
I believe Retta was working with him. And I don't know where that rested.
I'm sure that I have it because I think I still have our sign-in sheet floating around.
I know the guy, I'm trying to think of his name.
He was writing the history and was going to look into putting a marker on the property. So that would be the gentleman that should report on that. And the Henry Beckman historic marker, I know nothing about.
I don't either.
Sorry to disappoint.
All that is left of the mill and gin is part of a wall that is inside the Henry house.
It's in the Henry house.
It's a wall.
Yeah, that's where it was. So that would be probably a story marker, which would tell the story of that site.
Wasn't that guy's name Burkhart?
Yes,
Is
it
that-
was. I think it was.
Yeah.
I could
Eric,
be
is
wrong.
that right?
That sounds right.
Yes, his name is Eric Burkhart,
Eric Burkhart.
and he's a very good friend of Retta's. And he has done an extensive amount of research on that. On actually a lot of things in Blanco.
Can I talk to her?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning these rules. Hi, Pamela.
Hi, y'all.
Hi. So do you think Retta would work closely with him to get this accomplished, or what do you think?
Yes, she has been working closely with him for years. He is a super hardworking researcher, and Retta actually tried to get on the Zoom call tonight, but was not able to do so. Is she there? She's not there.
No.
Okay. Yeah, she wanted to get on the Zoom call, but was not able to do it. So yes, she and Eric will and have worked together consistently through the years, and they would work toward getting that taken care of.
Do you think if, I'm not volunteering, let me make that clear, but if one of us were to work with her, do you think that would help move it along a little faster, or no?
I think, yes, I think that it would be helpful. Yes.
Okay.
She's got, yeah. I think that would be really helpful.
Eric and Retta,
I'll do that.
thank you.
But I don't even,
I did them.
yeah, I don't even know how long she would need help. She may not, they might not even need a whole lot.
Well,
Maybe
we
they just
could-
need a little incentive or something.
Gail has volunteered to touch base with them and, kind of walk along with them on this one, which
Okay,
might help expedite.
Since I don't know what I'm doing, I wouldn't be butting in or anything.
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that, but just show them this agenda item and ask them how we can get it finished.
hmm
If that's all right, do you think that'd be okay?
I think that would be very okay.
Okay.
Gail, this is Rudy.
Go ahead.
Okay, I don't know if y'all can hear me. When it's all said and done, we still have to go, the way the Texas Historic Commission has it, you still go to the county. You get your monies together, the paperwork together. It starts on March the 1st, so you still have all of February. But, I feel bad for Linda not feeling good. Hope she has some time to recoup, maybe in the next week. But she's very versed on this kind of stuff. She'll really work with you hand in hand. And it's good for the two commissioners to get involved, so you get that background information and learn how to do the process. Then when the new guys come around, then y'all can teach them that too. Okay?
And just to add to your comment, Rudy, applications need to go through the county first, usually, is the way. So Linda would have to look at it.
Not
And
at first, not at first, more toward the back end. But if you want to get her involved, then that would help. And then there's always a representative at the state, but they're always going to tell you got to go back to the county. For some reason, the counties, I don't want to use the word control, but they have to make sure that all the whistles and bells are in, because they more get rejected than approved because there's a lot of mistakes made. That happened there at the Briars building.
Yeah, the county needs to verify the information going to the state.
Okay.
Yes, thanks.
All right. Do we want to move on to item number 2, or is there any action we need to take regarding the markers? Okay. All right, so item number 2 under old business, discuss progress and outline provided by the Historic Placard Committee, Wendy Cambridge and Billie Jean Cutzer. We have 2 subcategories: newspaper articles and Blanco Middle School interviews. What is this?
Okay, so we have kind of morphed into 2 different things, the placard committee, but both working hand in hand. And that is researching historical information data here in Blanco and the surrounding area, which will help us to determine stories and locations for placards.
Okay.
Throughout the city and surrounding area. Well, one of my concerns is I have read and heard that if it's not within the city limits or the historical district, that we're not going to be, we typically are not involved in the placard scenario. And both Billie Jean and I agree that we would very much feel it's very important that we look at the area surrounding the town of Blanco, because so much went on with the agricultural industry, the farmers, the town itself. We would be amiss not to include the area surrounding the town.
Yeah.
So,
May I give an example?
yes.
One of the examples is back in the day, you had farmers and ranchers bring firewood into Blanco because that was the only means of heat for the town, was the firewood that the farmers and ranchers would bring in. And in the same way, they would come to town to get their seeds and their goods and stuff like that. So they both, interacted off of each other to keep each other thriving. That's just one example.
Exactly. So,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, you did not. I guess I'm asking to get clarification that we can, as we do our research, look at the area surrounding the city itself, not just the city and not just the historic district. And I don't know where I would find that.
Well, in a lot of the training that I've done, it mentions different types of community outreach that includes, gathering stories and living history projects and whatnot. And I don't think that anybody is under the impression that the only history that matters in town is on this square.
Yeah.
There have been people that grew up outside of the city limits don't say that they're from outside the city limits of Blanco.
Yeah.
And some of the families that have contributed the most to the development and character of the town don't necessarily live in the city limits. So, I would agree with your point of view that we should be looking beyond. I mean, if we're not going to do anything except what's in the historic district, then we can cancel the Pittsburgh thing too.
It's a short list.
But it's and one of the things that we can do is push to create new historic districts, but that's a whole nother pickle. But I would agree.
So what is the objective? To write newspaper articles about them?
Okay, so now that I've had that clarification, Billie Jean is going one direction and I'm going another with the placard themselves, identifying what types of placards, how do we get the placards financed, maybe having the town businesses or service groups or et cetera helping us to provide those. They don't need to be state or nationally registered, they can just be local. And that way they would get up a lot faster or we can be looking at a much cheaper.
So the local ones, I have a house that quite honestly is historical, but I don't want to register it because when I have to fix something like the plumbing, it was gonna cost me like $7,000 to fix it historically, and I got it fixed for $1,000. I don't have $7,000, but the plumbing had to be fixed. So I don't want to register it and have to do that. But it's the old Spear home. He was the first pharmacist here in town. Do you remember hearing about Mr. Spear?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And he was well revered. And the funniest thing, I mean, that house has so much history, but the funniest thing is he built a little garage and he put big doors at both ends because, you know, they used to have little cars. Because he wouldn't back up. He would drive straight through. And then you can get someone, when he'd come to work down here, some people don't think it was funny because he'd drive on their property because he wouldn't back up. You know, there's a bunch of interesting characters involved with that. So that's one of the oldest homes in Blanco, at least the first 2 or 3 rooms are, and then they added on so that the Spears could have a caretaker. And they just added 2 rooms, a bedroom and a kitchen with a sink, you know, and you know how people used to live.
Oh, yeah.
I lived that way when I
Very
was a
familiar
young
with
one.
that, yeah.
you
I've
know.
lived that way myself.
And so it's hard for people today to understand it was possible, but it's kind of neat somehow. So that would, what kind of placard would that be, a local placard? Or, I mean, if I presented, I mean, and y'all are familiar with the history book of Blanco County. It's got so many stories in it and everything. So I don't know if that helps or not.
No, it does.
I'm not sure where this goes.
No, I
The
understand.
direction.
A number of folks have come to me, and perhaps Billy, I can't
Mhm.
speak for that, Billie Jean, asking that very question.
Mhm.
They do not want to be beholden to any kind of rules, regulations, or requirements,
I don't know.
but they would love to have their building or their area, the story told.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm looking more at local, but I will check more into that state marker, this subject. And I do know on the state marker, if it's agreed to, the owner themselves have to give approval for that marker to be placed. So, and of course, we would do that as well with the local markers.
Mhm.
So what we're hoping to do is to visually recognize and give stories of those recognitions, places, people, things with this process. And the interviewing will be mostly done by Billie Jean, and I'll do a little. She's going to do the newspaper, and I'll let you speak.
I've emailed the newspaper earlier when this first started, and they said they'd work with us. And we've come up with some ideas, both of us. One of them is to like find an old photograph and put it in the paper. Like the example that we had was of a man with a buckboard and wood, and say, what does this gentleman and other people like him, what did they contribute to Blanco? And then see the answer next week. And then next week have a different picture with the answer that they supplied firewood, you know, to get people interested. And then I want to do an article inviting people to tell their stories, you know, to kind of get some kind of regular historical thing in the paper to bring interest back into history. And I talked to Libby the first day of May 1st. She suggested maybe having a community potluck, and the chamber would help me with that out at Yett Park. And I've had somebody else suggest to have it at Bensall Park. And families could bring in, you know, like photographs and memorabilia and, you know, tell their stories, kind of like the new people that have moved in get to meet. Everybody gets acquainted with each other and learns the stories and the histories. That's kind of what I'm working on.
Okay. We're finding that the newer folks to the community don't know the history. Now, they might get the booklets. Rarely do they get the big one, but
Well, they're not available anymore.
exactly. If you can
But
find them.
Dennis and Charles Moore, after the first printing of those books were gone, they printed 100 more, and they have the, I don't know what you call them, but they have the resource to print more,
Hmm.
as many as we want. My mom was helped write that book.
Mhm.
And so they had a terrible time getting people to write their stories.
Mhm.
So they would, me included, I didn't write my story, my mom.
I didn't either.
So, but now we realize how important it was. Back then I was young and I was not very
Yeah.
smart. So,
Yeah,
but Mama would go to Round Mountain, and she taught in Johnson City. So she knew people over there and she would go get their stories. So sometimes you have to beat the bushes. I think what you're
Exactly.
doing is a good idea, because there's lots of people who want to tell stories. But the older generation, they're not here anymore to tell stories. We have Roy Finch, he can tell good stories.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have Retta Martin, and I'm sure some other old timers like Douglas Wagner in the Henry House.
Shirley Page.
He lived in the old Spear House.
Really?
His grandparents are the ones who took care of the old Spears.
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so, but he doesn't know me from Adam, and I don't know if they would let me in to see him. Everything's so restricted. There for a while, I couldn't
Yeah.
get in there, but.
Well, the question I have is, if I continue to pursue this and people want to write in their stories, I've even thought about maybe starting a new book with people sending in their stories and writing them exactly how they wrote them and have it compiled, by us.
Let's do another book.
Yeah, compiled by us and story by whoever that person was that told the story. So if I pursue something like that, where do they send their information? Can it come directly to me, or does it have to go through the city, or how does that work?
We just don't want it to get lost.
No, we don't want it to get lost. That's my main goal.
It's kind of like with the cemetery. I always worry about those records because I take them home to work on them. And I think, my goodness, what if I die while they're here? Nobody will know what to do with this. And so I just do them and take them back. It's like we need just a place after you work on them. I mean, I know you're not going to lose them, but
I always make double copies just to be safe.
Well, I'm thinking do we have an email address that they can send them directly to, so it actually comes to the Historic Commission? And then Billie Jean, of course, will get them electronically or physically, however they come in.
I'm great if they send them straight to you.
We need an email address. I mean, I think it's fine if they send them straight to you because this is your project,
Okay.
but we could try to get a city email address. Are they doing that yet?
Yeah, I think we're working on it. I'm not sure exactly where we're at, but I'll know more the next meeting, but we should have it pretty soon.
So the collection of these stories is gonna help us even with the marker situation. I mean, they all tag together. And we think that newspaper thing's gonna be a hit, because it's a teaser. It brings them back every week. And it's not long stories, not complicated
Yeah.
stories, just, quick and precise. And then the Blanco Middle School, I've been in contact. Sandy Schweitzer has joined us on that one, and she's talked with the principal at the middle school. He's agreed to allow a couple of the teachers to incorporate doing interviews in their classes and then expounding on their information that they find. Some of the students have generational stories to tell still here in town. Others don't, but they might be able to find them. So we're trying to involve the schools, the kids into the history, learning about the history, and bringing it in that way. But that's still under development. We haven't heard back.
You know what would be a good school story is Bill Spurgeon. How many,
He taught 50 years.
50 years, how many kids, grandkids, great-grandkids of his original students did he have? That would be a good history.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
And he came here straight out of college.
Yeah, he did.
So we're trying to make them fun. We're trying to include the public in them. They have a part in what they see, what they hear. The other thing Billy and I have Billie Jean, sorry,
That's okay. That's all right.
have done is broken it down into eras, but the one era that's not represented is the last,
Yeah.
from 50 years. What was the,
Let's see, we have it broke down into the 1800s to 1899, 1900 to 1949, 1950 to 1999, and then 2000 to present.
so we're looking at the 1950 to 1999, feeling, and maybe we're wrong, but we're feeling that the generations that are here now, the 30s, 40s, 50s folks, would relate more to those stories because they actually either saw it on TV or in a book or something. And it's not recorded. It's not spoken about.
Hollis is a good one because Bernie's recorded, her mom was a good historian as far as Blanco goes. And she has a lot of things. She probably has a lot of stories. And they used to write stories, historical stories in the paper.
Mhm,
Do you
they
remember
did.
that? But yeah, I think this is not historical, but I think what it would do for everyone is give them the knowledge that they have a story. And if people know they have a story and that they belong to that story,
Mm-hmm.
it gives them more confidence, it gives them better self-esteem. It's just a healthier person because they know they come from someplace
Yeah.
and they have a story.
Yeah, well, that's like the bowling alley. I've been talking to Evan and she's willing to do something when they reopen.
Are they ever going to reopen?
Well, they're supposed to, yeah.
I've been hearing that for a year.
I know, but they had to gut everything and start from scratch, so that takes time. But
They're bowling.
yeah.
Well,
they
that
never
never
stop.
stops, right? So that would be, I think. our
That would be like in
presentation-
that 50s era. That would be one thing.
Well, it was built in 48, 49, 50,
somewhere
something like
in there.
that.
There you go.
48, I think.
Another great person to talk to is Willie. And her last name just flew out my window, but
Really,
yeah.
I think the resources are just staggering.
But they're going away.
Exactly.
These
it
people
wouldn't be
in their
really
80s and
Alters,
90s.
would it?
Yes,
Yes. it
Willie
was.
offers.
Yeah.
She's my dear friend and her last name went away.
And it doesn't need to all be on our shoulders. If you know stories, if you know where we can get stories,
Yeah.
Yeah,
bring
but
them
just hand them
in
to
and
Billy.
just
Just give them to you.
hand them
and
in and let's
let you do
start the ball rolling.
Okay.
Just what kind of stories do you want?
Anything.
Anything historical.
Because Willie can tell you about the time the bowling alley opened. She was a waitress. And that's how she met her husband because
Really?
they'd come get her whenever they were short a bowler. They'd come get Willie, the waitress, take her back there to bowl.
See those
was
little
just in a-
short
See those little stories
short
like that?
stories are
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Another one Billie Jean brought up, I'm sorry, we'll stop here in a second.
I'm sorry.
We could get all crazy. And I'm not even from here. So Billie Jean talked about, she had a friend who,
Jonelle.
Jonelle, thank you. And one of the stories I think we're gonna post is a picture. I'm not gonna give it out, but there is a location here in town that you could,
Get gas.
I don't even know if I want to say all this, but anyway, get gas and get your horse shoot at the same time. Now that would be a picture and say, what can happen at this gas station in this year? Now the Dory Chapel, same thing, you know, just the stories behind that place. So that's where we're at.
If you put this out and people know you want little short snippets, you'll be just buried. They'll be so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
It'll be a lot of fun. I even bought a new laptop just for the historical
All right.
commission. So
Very
nothing
cool.
else goes on it but that.
I have a thumb drive with a bunch of pictures on it.
Oh, good.
It's in my purse.
Oh, okay.
So that's from when Jim was working on the
Oh, okay.
website. So that was item number 2 and 3. I guess we go from 2 to 4 here. And Billie Jean has given me and others the National Historic Preservation Month report.
Yeah.
This what you're working on.
Do you have one of those?
Do I? Am I supposed to?
But yeah, I copied them. I made copies when I first did it. Um, and I did find those. Let me see.
Let's see if I have one from a. Here you go.
Thank you.
No. So this is the outline of the proposed plan.
Yes, it is. And I've had a couple of suggestions since then that aren't on there. And one of them I found interesting, and it was to do something like similar to like the Wild Woman Weekend on a Saturday and do it historical and charge like $125 a ticket. And for that, the women would come in and they would get a van tour around to all the historical locations, Twin Sisters, everything around Blanco, maybe a ranch that has a historic house. And then they'd have lunch somewhere with, out of that. And then the proceeds that are left over, we'd make, I don't know if that's legal or not, but we'd make anywhere from, if it was 20 women, $1,500 to $2,000 clear and not have to pay anything after, you take all that money out of the tickets. That was one thing that was suggested. And then the other thing, Libby suggested Yet Park for May 1st, but I've had several people suggest Bensall Park. So that would be something, but Libby's gonna work with me on that, and whatever we decide to do, she'll put it up on her computer, however they advertise that stuff. So, and she was thinking about maybe having a screen up with historical pictures and, maypole and other stuff with it too, so.
I like the idea of doing it at Bensall Park more because I think more people will happen
That's
upon
what
it.
I'm thinking too.
Closer to Bronco.
Yeah, at Bensall Park,
But
yeah.
you remember the tables at the end of the park that people used to always have their Sunday potlucks at?
Oh, yeah.
And all that?
Yeah. So, yeah, I like the idea of Bensall Park better.
I don't like having to make a left turn.
Well, that road's getting dangerous out there
You don't
too,
need to be a three, remember that.
so,
Okay, so we'll discuss this more.
okay,
Maybe we need to have a workshop.
that might be a good idea, yeah.
Okay.
Do you need support in this? I mean, are there people out there that that would support you physically, meet with them?
Well, I'm gonna have to have help, that's for sure, and I talked to Libby last week, and I'm gonna talk to her again this week and see what we can work on. And,
All right. So item number 5, discuss sharing and partnering the task and funding of the Gateway Monument. Did we have anything on this right
I
now?
believe we've discussed it around the table before, to actually, in fact, we did. I think at a couple of meetings ago, we talked about, at that point, our city administrator talking with the tech dot about getting a space up that end of town, the south end of town on that island or divider to put a monument, I mean, a real honest to goodness monument like you see in other towns. And I don't know if that went anywhere, but the one thing we did talk about was we wanted a monument that was reflective of our town, substantial in nature, whether it was rock or stone or whatever, not just a piece of plywood with a picture on it, but that reflects us. And in order to do something like that, it's well out of our box, I guess you could say, financially equipped to do that and or personnel again. So if we include the town, the businesses, the service groups, the schools, whoever, how we go about doing this, I do not know. But I believe we'd be able to accomplish it with support of the town itself. Just get the word out there that we want to put up a monument and have a picture of one or something. I don't know, but I don't see that being the responsibility of the Historic Preservation Commission. I know it's been in the works for years, Pamela. I know you guys have been working on it for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm listening to you, and I'm so baffled. It's such a mystery why we can't generate money from this town. I'm thinking, as a realtor, not trying to put myself out there, I'm just saying the median, I was looking at this today before the meeting, the median range of people buying in Blanco County now is around $400,000. That's what people are spending on houses. Like, I know that I've dropped the ball on some of the projects. I haven't been proactive on them, but the point I'm attempting to get to anyway is that we have the people who are moving here love Blanco. They love the historic town. They love the historic county. And I'm just not sure why we can't generate the money to get the entrance signs and all the other things that we want to get. I mean, I'm not sure what we're not doing right, or if like you said, Wendy, is it even up to us? But I mean, I think it's up to us to you know to incentivize or to inspire the town to get involved. But maybe it's just the culture of Blanco. It's just kind of a live and let live culture. But we should have our own sign, our entry sign on both north and south entrances. I'm sorry, I'm going on and on, but we have the people with the money in this county and in our town area to contribute. So I guess what we need to do is really focus on getting them interested in contributing to some
That's
of the
what I'm hoping to do with the newspaper articles and the things that Wendy and I are working on. But one of the things that I found out talking to people, a lot of people didn't know that there was a historic commission in town. And a lot of people have lost faith in the historic commission because they aren't seeing us getting anything accomplished.
Yeah.
And that's probably a lot of the reason why it's hard to get people to contribute, maybe. I don't know. I'm just.
Well, I mean, it was so hard for so many years to get people to even be involved. I mean, in the community, it's just, the wheels are grinding forward and we're doing it now.
Yeah.
So now's the time where we've got such a great committee, great chair, great committee. And so now's the time to really think about how we can get people financially to step up and help us to do little projects even.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't believe, could be wrong, I don't believe this has ever been submitted to the town as a project they could get involved in. It's been held within the commission itself, trying to figure out how to do it.
Exactly.
I believe all we need to do is introduce it to the town. And I really, like you, Pamela, think that people will jump on board big time if they can see what it's going to do, how it's.
So do I. I think they're ready.
I know they're ready, but
Mhm.
there needs to be somebody, taking this ball and really running with it, getting started. And I'm looking right at the screen up here to a woman that knows just about everybody in town, is a realtor, and she could.
Me? Oh. Actually, I actually do think it would be a project that I could move forward on. I have done something, this isn't on the agenda, so I wasn't going to discuss it, but the Chisholm Trail thing, Rudy and I talked about that the other day, and I have been making progress on that. But yes, this is something that I think I could certainly help with.
You could, I know you can, and because you get it, you embrace the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be happy to walk alongside you, but you would have to drive the ship.
That'd be okay. I can do that.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's my recommendation. That's why I wanted to put it on the agenda. It's because it's out there floating in this ocean of nowhere, and
Agreed.
I believe it needs to happen. And I think the community would see that it happened if they knew.
Yeah, I think they'd love it.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, do I have permission to write an article for the newspaper? Do we need to vote on that?
Yes.
Let Pamela put something together so we really know. This is my thought, really.
Okay,
Okay.
Write the letter, you've got it all down there. I mean, and then
Okay.
when it explodes,
Okay.
she's ready because she's been prepared. Been prepared.
okay. And on my end about, the people writing in and stuff, what if I, besides waiting on them to get an email, the city to get an email, I go ahead and open a post office box just for that, where they can send it directly to a PO box?
I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't know.
Okay,
That should be fine. And then we can reimburse you
okay,
for the cost of it.
Okay.
We'll do that in a meeting.
okay. I'll do that because that way it goes to the post office. I don't have to worry about it getting lost on the mail route either, coming out to me, so. Okay,
Okay. Item number 6 was the pecan rock wall. And that was, Retta was gonna update us on that. She and someone were working on a grant application to get money to work on the rock wall. And I don't know if that got turned in, but she had
It
me
did.
sign it.
It did, Roxanne.
It did?
Today.
It did, got turned in today.
Okay. So Retta did get that grant application.
And is that for the streetscape or is that?
That's for the rock wall. The wall that it runs behind Cranberries.
Have we identified who owns that property?
Well, she insists that the city does, and I
think
don't,
until that's understood, I don't know how. Yes, we need the money to do it, but it needs to be understood.
Warren Escovy, City Administration. I kind of came in the tail end of this. Judy Langford of Langford Community Management turned in, we gave her some information from what the cost of all the segments would be, but I think she took just the city segment and is asking for a grant. And the city's part of it would be matching, I think, 20% of it. So we'll see where that goes. And as that comes back, I'll update you on that, Ms. Martin.
So if and when money is received for that, do we need to get approval from any particular entity to repair or replace that wall?
City council.
City council.
Council would have to approve anything that's city property for repair.
So you're acknowledging that is city property?
Well, portions of it are, and some portions of it are not.
from what I understand, up to Canals, that's from Pecan Street to Canals is city property, and I think Canals owns down to
I guess
that.
that's
That's what
I'm
I've
asking
heard.
for, is clarification and maybe documentation of that. Because we are moving forward with it, but, I'm not sure.
there was a lot of debate in the past about who owned it and was thus responsible for it. And so I guess now the city officially owns parts of it.
Wouldn't that be in the county deed records or something?
There was research, Retta was researching on it.
And the city wants to.
Guess doesn't want me to talk, so all I can say is what was provided by the grant writer, and that I could send to both the council and to this board. But I'm not saying, I'm just saying that I can only provide what is provided to me at this point. I haven't
Okay.
researched this close enough. Thanks.
Well, I'm grateful for that action. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been trying to.
That's a step.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think we'll have a streetscape update.
Roxanne,
Follow up on paint guidelines with the city. So I believe, we just voted to edit the violation letter at the last
And the
meeting.
last
We
one
haven't,
before that, we did.
okay.
Pamela, am I correct in remembering that the paint guidelines were approved here at the meeting a couple months
Yes.
ago? So,
Yes.
and then I understand from Rudy, if you're still there, that those guidelines need to now go to P and Z for approval.
Yes.
And I believe you said you had to present them to P and Z, and then P and Z will present them to the city council for their vote. Is that correct?
Rudy, did you send them to P and Z, the paint guidelines?
No, one of the committee members will attend the PNC to get on the agenda, to get them
Okay.
approved. I haven't, did you send them to me, Wendy, this week?
Yes.
Okay, let me review them. I think I had seen them already, so I don't see any changes. But let me just look at them real quickly, and I will get a hold of Laura, the secretary. Who would like to attend the PNC meeting? Because I cannot obligate myself to do that.
I'm going tomorrow night, but I guess it's too late to get it on the agenda there. So
Yeah,
it's not a rush, but.
you'll have to do it the following month.
Okay.
Roxanne, I'd like to say a couple of things. Madam Chair.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I had just sent y'all an email as y'all are sitting down with the Blanco County Heritage Book. That has a lot of information, and the when Mr. Thomas was here, McDonald, back last year in May, he wrote the book Texas Rangers, Ranchers, and Realtors, and that was with the James Hughes Callahan, the first guy that was ever put a marker and put some land here in Blanco, the Pittsburgh Land Company. He is the great grandson. James Hughes' grandson is Mr. Thomas. I just sent you that email. Also, a link to go to Seguin Library. He was there and he talked a lot about early history of Blanco. And Wayne Gosnell received that and he put his information here. Let me read it. He says, regarding the historical marker several years ago. Listen, he said several years ago, two gentlemen made a presentation to City Council about erecting a Chisholm Trail marker in Blanco. There are markers that have been erected all the way up to Kansas. Unfortunately, the mayor and the council we had at that time, not right now, but at that time, were not interested, so it never happened. So it can always get resurrected. I lost you guys. There you are. Gail and everybody, as far as getting landmarks, like particular old homes throughout the city, there's not one particular block that has nothing but historical homes. So it's kind of hard to start a historic district, but the state does allow you to do some landmarks. One of the trainings that Roxanne and I attended in the West Coast, Northwest, I forget the name of the city, Oregon or Washington State, they talked a lot about doing a conservative district, meaning very lax rules. Don't be so hardcore with the state ones or national. People want to get recognized. I know our home, the word was that it was built in 1870. So that's got a lot of history. And I've been doing a lot of history of Dan Reeves, Roger Reeves, all the way back to when the whole block belonged to them here. So I will be putting a marker here eventually. That does not entitle the state to tell me what to do and not do. It's just a marker. And then I would have to pay for that. So as far as someone telling me that I got to do something on plumbing inside, the state and the city does not go into interiors. Okay, only that what's visible. I have about 20 historic windows as an example. If I repair them, it's going to cost me about $100. If I replace them with wood, it's going to go about 20 or 30,000. If I go vinyl, I would never buy those windows, but it would cost just as much. So just repairing the exterior and replacing the roof, because you need one anyway, like Retta did, the insurance paid for that. But it's not to create a financial burden on anyone, especially here in Blanco.
So
Does
you're
that-
saying there are state markers that are called conservative landmarks?
No, no,
Well,
that,
we can form conservation districts instead of historic districts that are just more recognized and, you know, if we wanted to try to recognize any given area of town
Okay.
that was of interest.
Very good, okay.
Thank you, Judy.
you're welcome.
All right, so item number 8. Oh, I'm sorry, yes,
That's all right.
you were talking about paint guidelines.
Yeah, Rudy, just go ahead and put my name on the agenda to present paint guidelines to P and Z.
Well,
Thank you.
I will.
Thank you.
Cindy, that was you, right?
Yes, that was Wendy.
All right, thank you.
All right, can we go to item number 8 was other committee reports. I don't know if anybody else had anything. Nope. Item number 9, consideration and election of a new 2022 commission secretary. Who wants to be secretary? Does anybody want to take the minutes for the February meeting? Anybody want to pencil their name in on that schedule?
Well, would we just be taking the minutes for the short meeting or for the workshop as well?
I would assume just for the meeting. Do we need to have minutes for workshops?
No, I don't believe so. It's
Okay.
just the meeting.
I'll do the February meeting. I know, that's why I asked. Yeah,
All right, so
I'm old enough to know better.
Gail has volunteered to take the minutes for the February 28th meeting portion of our next meeting. So here we have future agenda items. If you would send anything that you come up with to me or Rudy, we can make sure they end up on the next agenda. But I think that
Well,
that will only be,
yeah, I'll
See,
have an update on what I'm doing, and then Wendy and I'll have one on what we're doing together, I assume, so.
okay. Anything else?
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
All right.
I second it.
Motion's been seconded. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. Motion passes and we will adjourn at 7:11 PM.